I think Messenger's a fantastic spacecraft. I mean, look, it took something like 7 years to get there because it used lots of gravity assist to put it into orbit. And it's going into a really hostile environment. You've got to remember just how hot it is out there. And also how cold as well, because you get that dichotomy between very, very hot because you're so close to the sun, but then when you're in the shadow, it becomes very, very cold. And that's why Mercury has these extremes of temperature. It's something like minus 290 degrees Fahrenheit, something like that. And then up to 800 degrees Fahrenheit in the sunshine. And I think in terms of what Messenger's pointed out, I think one of the most interesting things, again, regarding that temperature fluctuation is this idea that Mercury actually has water ice at the poles. And the reason that that ice can exist is because it's covered in a layer of rock. And if it's covered, it's insulated. It's a bit like putting ice into a thermos flask and insulating it. You'll find that it won't melt for a very long time. The same thing happens with the ice at the poles of Mercury. The water we think was brought to the planet by icy comets bombarding that planet in the early stages of the formation of the solar system when Mercury was forming. And then some of that water ice vapor managed to find its way up to the top of the poles where the sunlight actually doesn't shine so much, and then became buried in the soils of Mercury and of course is embedded in there today. And that was a really significant finding, I think, for Messenger, because obviously you're talking about the closest planet to the sun and it's pretty hot there.
It's so amazing that that's just extreme temperature variation and what variety can exist on the planet. It brings to mind for me that there must be so much to delve into with this really incredible planet. And my question to you there is, with this mission ending, what do you think is left to do? What is more to discover here? Do you think we should be sending another Messenger 2, Messenger 3, Messenger 4 to Mercury? Is there more to be uncovered here?
Look, there's a classic thing you have to remember about planetary science. Is every time you have a mission, you answer questions, but it always throws up more. So it doesn't matter what planet you visit, you will always have a thirst for more knowledge, because in some respects, this is the golden age of astronomy. These are the first sort of missions that we're sending out to these planets, especially with something like Mercury. The very first time we've orbited Mercury, we've sent a spacecraft that's orbited Mercury. So I think the salient thing to remember is, yeah, there's loads more questions that can be answered. And in fact, I know the Europeans, they plan to send a spacecraft, I think it's something like 2024, in the 2020s, something like that, which will follow up the work that Messenger has done. But here's an example. There's something really peculiar about Mercury in that it's shrinking, and that's because it's cooling. And when things cool, they tend to shrink. And this is exactly what's happened with Mercury. And I think we'd like to know a little bit more about that and understand that process and understand exactly how much it shrunk by, because that can start to tell us quite a lot about the interior of the planet. But we know this has happened because if you look at the surface, and again, this is something that Messenger's really helped us achieve, is there are these amazing scarps on the surface, these sheer cliffs. Some of them are sort of 2 miles high. You know, that's the height of Mount St. Helens. These things would be fantastic if you could go there and walk on the surface. So although Mercury may look a bit barren, maybe a little bit boring, I don't think it is at all. I think it's got this fantastic surface. And I guess spacecraft like Messenger are starting to reveal its secrets, which is always exciting if you're a planetary geologist. Well, it's exciting for all of us, I mean, let's face it.